Pump the brakes. Meghan always had a second season.
And royal watchers think that the Princess of Wales has been disrespected on International Women's Day.
Welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show that dives deep into the lives and drama of two of the world's most talked about royal couples on each side of the Atlantic. Join us for insight, analysis, and plenty of opinion on these very different couples making headlines. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in California.
And greetings from Cheltenham, in the heart of the British Cotswolds, where I am gearing up for 4 days racing, some of the best around. But more importantly, to watchers of Heirs and Spares, I'll be bringing you news about the Prince and Princess of Wales.
I love it. I love it, Rupert. We have some positive news here in the States, but I'm going to kick it your way about popularity when it comes to the British royal family. This is something I felt. Always felt like this was the way it was, but thanks to a new YouGov poll, we have confirmation that Americans prefer Prince William over Prince Harry. Oddly, they kept deceased royals on this list, and Princess Diana is actually who dominates the list, with Queen Elizabeth underneath that, and then Prince William and Prince Harry. He emerged triumphant in the Battle of the Brothers with a 58% approval rating versus Harry's 53% approval rating. Knowing you as well as I do, I suspect you're not surprised by this development. Is it similar in the UK, do you think?
I think you'll probably find there probably is a wider gap because
Mm.
obviously this is the reason I would say that is because obviously we have, the people in this country, it's about the monarchy. Whereas in America, I think you're going to have a more nuanced view because obviously you're getting a different perspective of the royal family. And it is interesting that the Princess Diana is at the top of the pops, as it were, even though she's been dead since 1997. It does show her influence and the impact that she made on a global scale. And it is still relevant today. And obviously, she's her various landmarks. Her presence still looms large over the royal family. It is interesting that I think there's only a 5% gap. And actually, when I first looked at it, I went, that's not as big as I thought it would, as I say, because over here I do think there is much more resentment towards Prince Harry, given the way he's been talking, has spoken about the British royal family here. So we're probably finding slightly protective. So they probably take a rather more dim view in this country. Now, of course, I have nothing apart from my gut feeling to work on. And as you say, you talked about your gut feeling there. So I'm not I'm actually more surprised that they're as close as they are. So all is not lost then in the eyes of the American public. If of this poll, if he's got more than 50% in his favour, then I think he might just say that that's not too bad given what's been going on recently.
Were you disappointed at all by where King Charles and Camilla, the queen, the new queen, landed on this poll? Because like I said, I recently had to have this discussion and I was caught off guard, so I didn't have the analytics in front of me. But again, my gut feeling said that Americans still had a lot of love for Princess Diana, so that there might be some resentment towards King Charles and Queen Camilla. However, I hoped and assumed, due to his cancer diagnosis, that there would be some sympathy there and that it might have changed some hearts around. So, are you a little disappointed by where he lands on the map?
Um, I'm not surprised because
Mm.
I think he's got to got to probably be out there public facing in America, and he hasn't. And so I think there's probably it's more probably ambivalence, not knowing him as a personality. Like William and Harry have been much more out there, and obviously, as I alluded to in Princess Diana, Queen Camilla would be in the same boat, but there still would be the more conservative side of America taking a view about the Queen Camilla from the breakup of the marriage. And given Princess Diana's popularity, there's always going to be a swing in her favor. That would be my take on it to some extent. But overall, not really surprised. I think the important thing is that they still have, there's a fascination within the British royal family. We know there's been a fascination with regard to whatever Meghan and Harry do. There is always a fascination about the Prince and Princess of Wales. So I think we have to put it into context. The King, I think needs to probably become more familiar. Look, it's a work in progress over here. There was a degree of sort of not quite sure what to expect from the King, but obviously with the cancer diagnosis and but now trying to get out there as much as possible, I think there's a much more favourable view to him here, because there was always a bit concerned how his passions in life, environmentalists, and how he'd be able to navigate his way in his current situation as the King now. So I think it's a work in progress in America. But as I say, the only 5% gap between Harry and William, certainly when I looked through it, just gave me a little surprise.
Agree. I guess it's unfair to ask this about Harry and not about William too, but how much of the public's adoration for the pair is directly associated with their love for their mother?
I think there will be an awful lot of that. And obviously, we know that Harry is still living in the shadow of his mother. And even see now, what happens on the Drew Barrymore show? What picture does she bring out? She actually brings out the fact that it's a picture of one of the proudest moments in Drew Barrymore's life is that she's with Princess Diana. So I think that shows you the relevance of Princess Diana. Now, I'm not sure that Meghan Markle or Meghan Sussex or whatever name she wants to be called this week did like that, but it does show the importance of Princess Diana in the grand scheme of things within the American psyche, and obviously, and that shows the relevance of her and why she is still a presence that looms large over people's perception of the royal family, and maybe through the crown and various other things. Again, that has kept her name in lights, as it were.
That's so funny. I specifically called her Meghan Markle at the during the intro of this show on purpose because specifically because of that. Although I'm sure old habits, I will inevitably refer to her as the Duchess of Sussex. So just go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and
Well, take now, but she is the Duchess of Sussex.
I know.
But
I know that
that's
she
a
wants it.
title.
Yeah.
That's not her name. Let's get
Right.
this absolutely right. That's a title given to her as a result of her marriage, an honorary title given to her by the King.
Well, also because I've seen different arguments about that's the title, not her surname. Okay, well, technically, the York girls were the York girls. Prince William and Harry were, Harry of Wales, whatever. So I understand that there is an argument here for that other members of the royal family accepted their title as their surname and other circumstances, but they were born, those were people, everybody that they can show me were born into that role. They were born into being members of the British royal family. Princess Diana was never Diana Wales. Catherine was never Catherine Cambridge. This Sussex thing, in my personal opinion, is her way of clinging on to dear life for this title because she knows she's irrelevant without it.
Oh yes, and you saw in the program produced by Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. That was quite clear who produced it, and that she's using that title to enhance her profile. You can't sugarcoat it any other way. She knows that is opening doors for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that.
Do
But
you
look, if you
remember
look at
do you remember that moment when they stepped down, Prince Harry's first engagement after they stepped down, he was talking to a crowd and he said, "Just call me Harry." What happened? So
well,
they
because
talked to
she
somebody, yeah, they talked to somebody that said, "This is the only thing that makes you relevant."
Well, she loves the fact that she can ring up and people, it's the Duchess of Sussex here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's it opens, in her minds, it opens doors. It probably does. Let's not be stupid. People, it are naive about it. It will open doors for her. But it's, if you look at, aristocratic friends of mine, I know somebody who is now the Lord something or other. I won't mention him, but he was, before his father died, he was called something else. So you know which was the family name. And
Hmm.
you look at many other aristocrats, the Duke of Marlborough. I don't know him, but now the cut is always the Duke of Marlborough. But before that, he was called Jamie Blandford. Do you
Hmm.
see what I mean? So that is the family name. You then inherit the title, and this is a title that was bestowed upon them as a result of their marriage and giving them a title, just
But
as you've
also
got.
under the assumption that they were going to remain working royals.
Oh,
Had they said, we are going to escape off to America and we are going to rain hell on this family for the next 4 years, or 6 years, I highly doubt that Queen Elizabeth would have given them everything that she did give them. I also had this thought yesterday because we over the weekend, it was the 4 year anniversary. Sorry that we still have William and Catherine stuff to talk about, and I'm already
yeah,
in
yeah,
Harry territory. Sorry, but I was having this thought over the weekend when it was the 4 year anniversary of the Oprah Winfrey interview. The real cruelty that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle put the royal family through over the final years of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth's life. And I wonder if, because I felt like we truly saw how self-consumed these two were once they stepped down from the royal family. And now that we know everything, or now that we've seen everything that came to fruition, it's so hard to digest their actions. It's so hard to process what they did intentionally. Um, because we know while Harry and Meghan were full of vengeance and bitterness, the queen was slowly dying of cancer, apparently a rare or a bone cancer. Prince Philip was ill in the hospital when they sat down with Oprah Winfrey, inevitably passed away. We don't know at what point cancer started growing in King Charles and Princess Catherine, but you sit back and go, oh my gosh, the big issues that they were dealing with secretly behind the scenes that we had no idea of. And it makes me wonder if Meghan got so high on all of the attention that was given to her in the build up to her wedding. If she just loved being that center of attention and everything being about her, that there was some huge crash, some adrenaline crash or something when the wedding was over and she realized she was no longer the focus of the family, and that we just saw her lashing out over this because she did at one point have that nice little cush high where everything was about the new girl.
well, she suffered from post-traumatic wedding syndrome. I think, because if you think about it, the moment she walked down that aisle,
Yeah.
as you say, all the build-up, she walks into the St George's Chapel on her own, billions watching. From that moment onwards, once she said yes to um, Harry, um, then that meant that she was then married to not the future king. She was married to the brother of the future king, and she was always going to be a supporting player within the royal family. And we know that does not sit comfortably with Meghan. And actually, if you take it further, her father's comments in an article that's come out post the "We'd Love Meghan" also reflects that she lives in a parallel universe most of the time,
Yeah.
and it is sad because they talk about bringing family and friends together. And it's actually quite touching. It is a bit sad when you read that article from her father. They had that Thanksgiving together. I think mother and, ex-wife and them all together with Harry. I don't
Oh,
think
Harry
Dory, but
Harry
they,
wasn't there. Harry wasn't there, but
well,
yeah.
Harry wasn't there, but they were there for Thanksgiving. And then, by all accounts, that was the last time she has seen her father in the flesh. And you go, that's sad. And there is, as we've always said, there is one common denominator. And yet they talk about having family and friends together. And yet you hear, that it all parts, it shows that she does live. She sees things, as the Queen so memorably said, recollections may vary. And even now, in that program with Love from Meghan, recollections clearly vary with regard to what went on in her teenage years, how she was brought up. And this is the sad fact. And this is what has come out from within the program last week. Again, you have to take everything she said in that program with a degree of cynicism.
I thought you were going to say with a grain of flower petals.
Well, yeah, I never want to see another flower.
Or Prince Harry's salt. Prince
I
Harry's
believe,
salt.
I believe there has been an increase in sale in this country of Epsom salts, flower petals, and some of the products that she was cooking with in various supermarkets are reporting a little boom. So you've got to say that at least she may have had some influence on the culinary taste of this country, although I'm still yet to believe that.
All I
But
have
I
to
do know
say is
what.
I've seen some of those people on my Instagram that are like, look at this thing I made with flower petals on it. Let me just say this. I will never forgive you. I will never forgive you. If you have fallen into this trap, then I am done with you. You are dead to me.
I mean, I don't mind eating a nasturtium leaf, right? I mean, I'll tell you what, we digress. I remember going to a football match in an area where the last thing normally when you go to hospitality in certain areas, you probably expect really good, hearty British food. Well, I ended up having a pudding at this Premier League football club sprinkled with nasturtium leaves, and I just couldn't believe it. But it was very good, so I'm not knocking it.
Okay.
So I need you to go out next time we speak and give me your comments on the quality of a good nasturtium leaf.
Okay. Well, that is some homework that I'm going to have to write down.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've slightly gone off topic here, haven't we? There,
Exactly.
but
Let
anyway.
me steer the conversation back to my favorite princess in the world, and the only princess, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the British royal family, when it comes to those brothers. But royal fans think that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was snubbed in the royal family's Instagram post celebrating International Women's Day. And while I did see this article, actually several people reached out to me about this and asked me if I had any sort of insight into this, why Catherine would have been excluded. So it was I don't know if you saw this, but it was in honor of International Women's Day on May 8th. And the royal family's official Instagram account posted portraits of royal women taken by female photographers. It was actually a beautiful post. So I'm surprised that I noticed Catherine wasn't in it, but my fixation was royal photographers photographing royal women. But Catherine was MIA. And not only is Catherine a royal woman who's likely been photographed by a woman, but Catherine is also a very celebrated photographer. Any clue as to why Catherine would be excluded? And my instinct says let's not dwell on this. I don't think it was anything personal. Where I don't know. I don't think that I think it was an oversight, an unfortunate oversight, and I'm disappointed by it. But I don't think there was any uh, direction from above, from the highest boss, not to include the Princess of Wales in these photographs.
I wouldn't have thought there was. I don't have an inside track on it, but you can to have a degree of speculation. Look, the Prince and Princess of Wales, I think, did put out a post and celebrating a young photographer who has subsequently died, who they've been trumpeting and very. So there have been something out there. Maybe there was also. You look at who was featured in. You got Queen Victoria featuring in it. You've got Queen Camilla, Princess Anne, a lovely picture of Princess Anne from obviously some way back, and a very nice picture of the Duchess of Edinburgh as well was included in it. I also think the images from the Prince and Princess of Wales want to put out there, there's a degree of control now, given her still recovery from cancer. Now, we've been seeing pictures everywhere as we speak from the Commonwealth Day memorial service. She's Memory Day You just said it was May the 8th. You've moved us on in
Oh,
time. It was
sorry.
March the 8th.
Thanks for
I
tagging
mean,
me.
I know there's a lot going on, but don't please wish this year away quicker than it already seems to be going. But, from last week. But the
It's
lovely
my
pictures.
birthday month and I'm traumatized because it's 40, Rupert. Okay, let me
Okay,
be. Let me be.
hang on. That ship has sailed as far as I'm concerned. I'm more worried around one beginning with a seven. So so there you go. But anyway, that's sometimes it's not next year, but it's galloping apace. But I actually looked at the pictures today. You've got some lovely pictures of her going to Westminster Abbey, which of course we saw her just before Christmas going there for her Christmas concert. She's wearing a striking red outfit. I think it. I've lost. I think it was by one of her favourite designers, but I'm sure you know more about that than I do. But she looks striking. And again, so that picture's been shown around the world. Great that both the King and the Queen and the Princess of Wales were able to go there this year, because remember last year the King had to record a video message for this very important day in his calendar, the Commonwealth. And then, more importantly, good to see the Prince and Princess of Wales attending it. So I think we've seen plenty of photographs. I think it will get lost. It's one of those things. I mean, look, today we've been talking about the King's music list. I don't know whether you've had a chance to take on board the King's music list for the Commonwealth Day. It's a fairly eclectic mix.
It is.
I don't mind the locomotion being there, but let's have the Little Eva one, not Kylie Minogue's version in it. But anyway, that's just me showing my age. And there are probably some people you wouldn't even know who were in there. And certainly I'm looking through the list, scratching my head and going, well, I'm not a King. You like her? Right, fine. Down with the kids, boy. It was an eclectic list, but I'm not going to get too exercised about her being missed out. It's not a slight. And actually, it's great that the Duchess of Edinburgh gets included in it. It's a pretty august lineup of royal women. If you've got Queen Victoria as a starting point, you're going strong. So
I,
for
I wonder
great.
if you mentioned William and Catherine's post, and I'm just thinking perhaps they said we'd like the attention from our side to be on this beautiful woman that passed away from cancer. So if you wouldn't mind, let's exclude us, because Catherine does tend to, and she doesn't mean to, but Catherine does tend to steal the show. Now, I shared the picture of Queen Elizabeth, the profile that I loved from that post. But had there been a beautiful picture of Catherine in there, I probably would have shared the picture of Catherine. I mean, realistically, like I just
I,
think she's the most beautiful person in the world. So perhaps they said, you know what? We'd like to sit this one out because our focus wants to be on this cancer victim.
I think I can't disagree with you. I think that makes sense. They've been able to celebrate on their standalone post this cancer victim, who obviously meant a lot to both the prince and princess. So I think that sounds a more logical explanation. But good that others have got their, reflecting the other women within the royal family who, let's be quite clear, the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, and the Queen have played hugely significant parts over this last year. And, we know the Princess Royal steps up to the plate. She will, she hardest working, even though she got clobbered by a horse last year. I'll probably see her at Cheltenham this week presenting a trophy, because there will be a bit of royal presence. Zara will be here because she's a director of the Cheltenham racecourse. There'll be royal presence. They'll be wearing Holland and Cooper, I can bet your bottom dollar, which is the brand of choice. You might be aware of it, but it's maybe the American viewers may not be aware of this brand, but it's taking off over here. But royal presence will be there. But Princess Royal and the Queen and the Duchess of Edinburgh, all three of them have played significant parts in helping the royal family with the engagements. And the Duchess of Edinburgh and the Duke have been attracting very positive reviews for the way they've just quietly got on with their business. And, the Duchess of Edinburgh has certainly put herself out there and trumpeting some, dangerous, been going to Ukraine and other places as well. So I think the ones they've picked are very worthy and deserving of being in that montage.
I just want to quickly acknowledge her name, Liz Hatton. It looks like Liz Hatton and her mother, Vicky. is who the Prince and Princess of Wales were celebrating in their Instagram post. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge her clearly as well too. All right. So you mentioned this briefly, some highlights from the Daily Mail's exclusive with Markle's father. We need to acknowledge really quickly that this the headlines are on Friday where Meghan Markle gets a second season, but that's not the accurate headline. Deadline reports that a second season of With Love Meghan was always greenlit. So the show was always greenlit for 2 seasons. I suspect that Meghan and her team initiated that to ensure that she didn't look like a failure. Also, it helps with the product sales if a show's actually happening while they're trying to push product and there's no product to push currently. So if Netflix is really invested in hoping that this is a success, there will be new content to go along with whatever tangible items she's inevitably going to have for sale. Daily Mail also reporting today that Netflix is worried that the reception was so poor. But I thought the headlines were incorrect. The headlines I felt like Friday and Saturday should have been the second season shot prematurely based on all of the negative feedback, because what type of changes can they make today when this entire second season was filmed back in January? So no big hoopla. Meghan didn't get a high five and like, let's go season 2. That was the initial agreement, probably so Meghan wouldn't look like she bombed with one season like Polo did. And all of her stuff's already in the can. So it's going to be really difficult for them to make severe changes and edits when it's not necessarily the projects that were lackluster, but the personality itself. The projects were lackluster. Now, you talked about Meghan Markle's dad's reaction to it. He seemed so sad, didn't he?
Well, it did. That's the thing, because it is sad, because he did play a significant part. Now, he said, yes, we did sometimes have TV dinners, but what family doesn't have TV dinners? And he said, I was working 2 jobs
Yeah.
very successfully, and an Emmy Award-winning lighting director, and he would be able to afford to go to nice restaurants. And so I think, you've got to have a huge degree of sympathy for him. But I don't know, why does she feel the need to exclude, if she's so pro father, and she's always talking about Harry's influence on the children, how he's always around and a good dad and a great dad, but is absolutely dissing her father.
Yeah.
Now, yes, it's sad that there's been a breakup, and saying that, didn't pick up the car and come to the wedding. And it all was very uncomfortable and unnecessary. Let's remember, Thomas Markle suddenly in the spotlight from a, hardworking Hollywood lighting director, suddenly finds his daughter is marrying into the royal family. It's probably quite a lot to take in. Great and happy, but actually then it got into a bit messy. Then he has his heart attacks, and it all becomes very sad. And that's what I feel most about it. Why does she completely ignore? Yes, it's sad, the breakdown, but he did play a huge part in her early life. And why does she feel the need to completely ignore it? And she talks about family all the time, yet there's no family apart from her mother, because I don't think any of the others are rushing round to Montecito, and there's
Mm-mm.
certainly not many members of the royal family in this country rushing over to see Harry that we know about. Because if they're going under the radar, much better that way, and can repair bridges. But as you say, this new series, and we talked about it when I think we were just having a chat, reflecting on the week, saving, shooting the breeze, not just in this circumstances, and actually, the fact you hit the nail on the head. If with all the negative reviews in terms of the style of the program, and even her father saying she looks fake, basically,
Yeah, he does.
that's the takeaway. I can tell that this isn't real, and she never looked like a great cook. Although to be fair, she's not pretending she's a great cook, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, but she's
She's
also she's also like it's supposed to be Meghan as an expert. And that's why she surrounded
Mm.
herself with all these people that are complimenting her constantly, which was funny because I think it was Variety. I think Variety was the one that made the comment that like how convenient that she's found a team of people that just sit there and compliment her the entire
Oh,
show. It's not with Love Meghan, it's Love Meghan or something like that. Everybody
yeah.
love Meghan. Everybody
Yeah,
loves
well, yeah.
Raymond. Everybody loves Meghan. But you know, talking about that, I'd love to know if you've seen this, talking about Meghan fibbing, basically saying I was a TV dinner girl, I was a latchkey kid, all I did was eat Taco Bell and Jack in the Box. And then her dad talks about taking her to the Habit Burger place on Sunset Boulevard, which Marilyn Monroe and Bing Crosby and all these icons love to eat. Or I'm forgetting the other cafe that's a celebrity hotspot where the steaks are like the low end is a $50 steak. And Meghan, these are things that were documented on Meghan's Instagram account, the TIG account, or her personal Instagram account before she deleted everything when she met Prince Harry and started the process of marrying into the royal family. But there is a clip of her from the Food Network, like it's Chopped Junior, where she is a judge. And at this point in her career, she's on Suits and she has the TIG and she's trying to transition into the food space, which we know she was like pitching herself as a food host right before she met Prince Harry in the UK. And she says to this little girl who, you know, has presented this plate in front of her, she's like, "Oh, this reminds me of growing up in California and that to farm to table lifestyle that I lived." And she's talking about basically the farm to fork lifestyle she lived growing up in California and how this little girl's plate reminds her of it. What a freaking chameleon. I mean,
Yeah.
she panders to whoever's in front of her. And it's exhausting because there are people that are keeping receipts and we can go back and catch her saying, you know, the exact opposite. And it's almost getting exhausting. But one of the lines he says, you know, I know when she's faking it for the camera, you reference this, she's trying so hard to be perfect that she tenses up every time the camera is on her. The best cooks are funny, they mess up, they're human. She just wants to be perfect. It's sad because she's trying so hard to stay in the limelight. Rupert, it really does feel that way, that this is all about ego, which is completely the opposite from the life of service they promised when they stepped down from the royal family. And is this sustainable when you are so fake and your purpose is so shallow?
I think I'm not sure it's sustainable because people see through it. We know that people watched it out of uh, curiosity.
It's already like
And
out of the top 10, by the way.
well, it's had its moment in the sunshine. The thing is, and you alluded to the fact that they've recorded it. If you'd had the series, you'd then be going, right, you've got the second commission, but now let's look at the changes we need to bring in. If it's the same style as before, then
Which
it will
it
be
was shot back to back, so we believe
well,
it
it
will
will be a
be almost
turkey. It'll be
identical.
a turkey then.
Yeah.
And unless there's some serious creative editing or they get some reshooting, if they want to try and make it more genuine, I don't
Yeah.
know how they're going to do that, but that's up to them. I just think it's sad that that Thomas Markle is basically pouring his heart out, saying, "Why is my daughter doing?" The subplot is there. I'm sad, that my daughter feels the need to erase me from her childhood when he obviously was prepared to, he may have spoiled her.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
You know,
Absolutely. I absolutely believe he spoiled her because even Samantha Markle said she spent such a significant amount of time on sets. She spent a lot of time on Hollywood sets just waiting for dad to be done with work, hanging out with celebrities. You know, her dad helped her get her first job, which was behind it was she was an extra, but she was an extra on General Hospital, which was a huge show at the time. You know, I did not realize based on her version of events, I was not under the impression that she spent what when she was 11 years old to 18 years old, she lived with her father. That blew my mind. And also since I'm making mistakes left and right. I do want to correct myself. So it was Musso and Frank in Hollywood, where Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, and Marilyn Monroe used to eat, and where Meghan used to eat. And you could get those $50 steaks. And then it was Hamburger Habit, where Elizabeth Taylor and Steven Spielberg and Cher were regulars that Meghan got to enjoy growing up. And I don't know if you've seen any of the video of her when she is young, as she's a teenager and she's like auditioning for Shakira music videos and stuff, but she is blissful, carefree. She is a California girl. Just like Paris Hilton, she's giving Paris Hilton in some of those home like videos of her that her and her friends were making. And Paris Hilton had an issue with fakery for a long time, or like, what are you doing? This is just totally irrelevant. And you've seen an evolution with her where she's now like campaigning for things in front of Congress. And so she's had a resurgence, but it's because she's found a purpose in life, a real purpose in life, and she's contributing. And I am patiently waiting for Meghan to do something similar that's meaningful. But like we've talked about before, Meghan seems to just jump on whatever's trending and then she forgets about it. 40 for 40, whatever happened to that?
Well, I think this is the problem for Meghan. She wants to feel relevant. Where if she'd still been in the royal family, she would be able to make a contribution. But she's not because she wants, an element of commercial benefit to it. Because in the royal family, you don't get paid for opening a supermarket or
Yeah.
going, but you have a very gilded lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it doesn't. But she's not in control of that. She thought the grass was greener over in Montecito, and maybe it is. She's earning money, but just looking at what she's been involved with, she's got a long way to go before she learns. Paris Hilton. You remember she was much vilified, if I remember. But now, if she's finding a niche and learning how to use her name and influence and actually grow up as an individual. For Meghan, she's just got to wake up and smell the flipping roses, and actually
On
go
our pancakes.
on a pancake, smell those edible roses, and just go with it and learn. And Harry, unfortunately, I think he's craving for that. It's now hard earning this money, and you've got to be clever. Not everyone can do it. If you're in the big wide world, it's not easy. So I have to say, it's fascinating the way it's panning out for Meghan. And at the moment, this second series, and with the renegotiations coming up, I'm not sure Netflix, their reaction has not been over the top. So I don't think they realize they've got a long-term success with the Meghan and Harry combo.
Oof. Yeah, I'm not so sure that they will. I mean, I'm 100% positive that they won't get a contract even remotely similar to the one that they initially signed. Those days are over. I think if they continue to work with them, it'll be on a project by project basis. Let me ask you, there's two things quickly. We're talking about the sour reaction to Meghan's show really universally. I mean, if you are a fan of Meghan Markle, you love it. But if you were on the fence, you're trashing it on TikTok. And if you didn't like her, it's only infuriated you more that she's trying to put out more fakery that we're supposed to digest as the truth when there are things that contradict it at every turn. Um, did you see the backlash that she received on social media on International Women's Day, March 8th, for the photo she posted with Lily in Prince Harry's lap, seemingly on a boat? Um, Honestly, Rupert, I don't think she realizes that the more she puts out there, the more she puts out there, the more she's generating negative headlines. I mean, because that was such an innocent post,
Mm.
which I don't know if you saw. This is a quote that Fox News put in their article. Prince Harry and Meghan are so good at showing the world how much they suck at being parents. What effing moron doesn't put their child in a safety vest while boating? Fox News put that in their article. I said that to somebody. I was like, "Can you believe Fox News put that in their article?" And they said, "Well, it gets the point across. Certainly gets the point across." I feel like she is just asking to be torn to shreds. I think, like, is she not thinking? Is it because she went quiet for so long that we're shocked by this?
Uh, but my take on it, I mean, I know my parents didn't believe in anything health and safety.
Well, that
And look, we
explains a
used to
lot,
go a bit of
Rupert.
go out in a boat, and we were not a nautical family, and we had some pretty scary moments. But I don't think any of us ever wore a life jacket. I think but I think they do have to be mindful of because everything's going to be analysed. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Now, you hope that given the circumstances of that photograph, that Harry, as the father, took a sensible decision that this was a safe place to be. And every time you get on a boat, life jackets are everywhere. Every time, I mean, I go anywhere, life jackets are there. You sort of know, as long as you know where they are. Now, obviously, when you've got a small child, it's a little difficult. I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it, but I think it again shows that they can't do anything without there being some. And it's actually one of Harry's things that everything we do is analysed within an inch. And yes, it's a sweet photograph of his daughter cuddling his dad, and we've all got those kind of photographs. But I would have to say they just need to make sure they're aware. They are the least self-aware couple that is out there, and therein lies one of the problems. They don't think of the bigger picture. Meghan's putting out thinking this is cute, Harry, and the children, because you obviously got all the Louis stuff, and you've seen from the Wales is what they've done with their children, and we don't get many glimpses of Archie and Lilibet. So I think again, it's the difficult position they're in. I'm not going to. Again, it's a bit like the lack of photograph of the Princess of Wales, but I think we've come to a pretty good conclusion as to why that's happened. It just ultimately the Sussexes don't have a filter that actually makes them think. What are they doing? What are the impacts? Because Meghan is convinced by her own rightness.
Well, I think that what annoys people is, first of all, I've told you this before, I think. My um feeling is that this is a strategy. Meghan's new use of social media is a strategy to drown out people like you and I. She's sick of you and I being quoted in articles. And if she floods social media with her own content, now she has more control over the narrative. But unfortunately, she posts things like this. You talk about this lack of self-awareness, which now I'm going and Googling what the laws are in the state of California, and laws require that every child under the age of 13 must wear a life jacket at all times while in a moving vessel
Well,
for
there
any
you go.
length, you
If
know?
if that's the law, then
And so, but then again, you're like, oh, here again, Harry and Meghan don't follow protocol. The rules for thee, but not for me. And then they stir up the base again. They stir up everybody talking about it again. So you're right. She does need to be more careful and be careful what you wish for. Because I think ultimately, with all this social media activity, she's trying to change, take control of the narrative, control of the headlines. And instead of people grabbing one bite from our chat and it going viral, now people are all talking about these pictures that were distributed on her social media. So she takes control of it a little bit. Before I let you go, Prince Harry was seen by himself at a charity event over the weekend. If Meghan's objective in the 15 seconds at the end of episode 8 with Prince Harry was to squash rumors of any sort of marital issues, are having Drew Barrymore sit on a couch and talk about how hot they are for each other, get a freaking room and grow up. I don't think having Harry out by himself in the middle of a PR blitz for Meghan is and to celebrate firefighters and first responders in their area in the midst of some of the worst fires that our state has ever seen. I don't think that that was the right move. This is going to reignite, poor choice of words, conversations around their relationship. To me, am I speaking too soon?
my view on that is, look, if it's a weekend, families do have, can you? I've got the kids. There's an element of that. But I would have thought, as a native of
Well,
those
and who was
parts,
watching the kids when both Doria and Harry were partying with Meghan Markle on episode 8, Rupert?
well, I know what you're saying, but I do think it would be strange that he's the one out there doing in the front line, as it were, doing a bit on behalf when he is a member of the British royal family. it would be just as important for her to be seen amongst them. But perhaps it's not quite the image she wants. I don't know. Whereas Harry, with people who are in service, it's very much in his DNA to be talking to those kind of people. So
Hmm.
I absolutely, for him to meet, whether they be American firefighters or British firefighters, that's what the royal family are good at. Engaging with people who are in service because they are in service and they understand. And those firefighters in your state of California had to go work in hell-like conditions, and they deserve all the praise that they can be heaped upon them in very difficult circumstances. So for Harry to go there, I'm sure he was very comfortable in the environment. But you're right. Why couldn't she, if it wasn't that long and it was probably near them, then she could have nipped out for a bit because presumably there is somebody at home just to mind the chickens, the children, the bees, and the garden, and everything else that they have at Montecito for them to slip out and spend an hour or hour and a half at this charity.
Oh my gosh, the chicken picnic table, the chicken table. I don't remember what it's
Yeah,
called. Anyway,
yeah. Anyway,
really quickly, before I let you go, any final thoughts? Any final words? I've kept you for 50 whole minutes. So
well,
are you looking forward to seeing Princess Anne? Is she gonna recognize you?
well, I probably won't have time to see her because I'm actually quite busy commentating on the racing. So, unfortunately, she hasn't made a personal call and say, "Can we relive that great moment just before Christmas when you gave me an award?" No, I don't think she will. But I am about to have a pretty big week, so I'm going off the royal piste for a few days. So I'll be back, don't worry. But for 4 days, my head is in the racing shed that is the Cheltenham Festival, which anyone don't know is one of the great racing festivals in the world. Hugely fun and entertaining. And right now, there's a dinner date awaiting for me. No, dinner date, not just one. No, it's not the wife, but lots of our team are getting together for a pre-Cheltenham Festival prandial or two. So,
Oh, we'll have
and
so
then,
much fun.
well, I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, certainly after the week we've had having to watch that 8 hours, we need a diversion. But
Yeah.
you're living and breathing it. I can get away from it from a week. So, and forgive the lighting. My Cheltenham hotel room lighting's not great, but bearing in mind that we've had ghostly apparitions in some of these things when I go from Heirs and Spares from hotel rooms, I think the lighting in this Hilton hotel has coped.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And if you have any questions for Maureen Callahan tomorrow, let me know in the comments below too, and I will make sure to ask her during our Meghan Markle chat. Rupert, you're a doll. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. A dinner awaits, but lovely to catch up and
Dinner waits.
enjoy the Royal week. I'm going to enjoy the racing week.
I
Bye.
love it.